What's up everybody, I'm Lockouts, and in this video I'm going to show you how to get the best settings you can possibly get to sound the best that you possibly can on your Blue Yeti microphone. Check this out.
Take your mouse and click the button, won't you subscribe to me? Lockouts, providing the content that you see. I'm visually stimulating your mind, 1 minute at a time.
Alright everybody, jumping right into this. This right here is my Streamlabs. This is some of my main settings. It is in some of my main platforms. But we're not going over that. Only thing we're covering right now is how to get your Yeti to sound like mine without clipping and having all these crazy background noises, and how to add an equalizer and things like that, noise gates, filterings, and all these other things. First thing that you guys are gonna do is you're gonna go down into where your Windows settings is, and hold on one sec, let me turn this off. So we'll shut this down, and then we will go down in here to where our Windows settings is. You guys can see this. I want you guys to right click where your speaker icon is, open up your sound settings. Over here, you're gonna see where it says sound control panel. You guys are gonna click on this one. When you get the sound control panel that pops up, it looks like this. You guys are going to go over to where it says recording. You're going to go down to where the Yeti microphone is. You're going to select it. When you select it, you're going to click the properties button. When you click the properties button, you're going to see these tabs in this box that pops up. You're going to click the levels one. The Yeti is very hot naturally, which means that it picks up everything. Okay, it's all the time sounding very staticky because it's picking up all of the silence in the air, and silence has actually got noise in it. You could hear it. So what I do, and what a lot of people recommend to do that are, you know, pros and people that are in like the music industry and things like that, anything that is a hot microphone, any microphone, whether it's USB or XLR, turn the microphone down in Windows. Okay, so you want to turn it down. I have mine at 52 in Windows. You guys can, you know, put it in the 30s if you want to, down into the 20s even if you have a lot of background noise, and then boost the gain within Streamlabs, and then or OBS or Stream Elements. It's all the same. You can add the same filters in any streaming program. Okay, so I have mine set at 52 right here. After that, guys, the next thing that we're going to do is, now that we have the audio level adjusted within Windows itself, we want the audio level to be low, and then we're going to boost the gain, okay, because we don't want it to be at 100 and picking everything up that's around us. We want a low audio level, and then we'll boost our actual voice within the program. Okay, so the very next thing that you guys are going to do is see this little icon right here for the cog. This right here is going to adjust advanced audio settings within Streamlabs, OBS, Stream Elements. Find where you can open up your advanced audio settings. Okay, and when you open it up, now this right here is, if you're recording, you could put your audio onto a separate track from where you are recording the in-game audio. So if you are, you know, you have in-game audio sounds coming from your game, you could put that on track 1, and then you could set your microphone to track 2, and then when you go into post-production after you guys record your video, you could then go and edit your audio, okay, in post-production, and you can clean up your audio even more. But this is going to help your live stream so that you're able to sound just like I do right now. I'm not going to do any post-production after this. What you guys hear is exactly how I sound on stream. This is exactly what it is. And during my post-production, I add a little bit of effects and stuff like that, so I sound more of a radio show host, or more of a live TV show person, is how I kind of get my voice to sound during post-production. So my in-game settings here is usually 67 on my microphone. I'm sorry, it's 67 on my microphone right here, and 75% on my in-game sounds. All right, and then we're going to adjust the audio levels. The whole point of this, guys, is so that we can keep all of the background noise out of it. So when we stop talking, you hear absolutely nothing. The gates and everything close and mute the microphone. Okay. So the very next thing that we are going to do is we're going to go down here to where our actual Yeti microphone is, and then we're going to select this little cog wheel that is the specific settings for this microphone. When you open this up, you're going to get filters. I want you guys to click on filters. Okay, there's going to be links below. I'm going to send you guys to go and get one that's a VST plugin. It's called Reaper. It's awesome for your live streams. It does effects to your voice in real time, which is what you guys are hearing right now. I only have an EQ on mine, but you guys can add echo and all kinds of other effects, and you could keybind them in Streamlabs, so you could turn like an echo on your voice and turn it on and off with like the push of a button. So we'll go ahead and go over this. Now, compressor. Compressor is if you're speaking very low, it'll raise the volume of your voice automatically. And if you're getting too loud, that's within and you're screaming into your microphone, it'll compress the volume levels down. A limiter works in conjunction with the compressor, okay? A limiter is if you're getting way too loud, it'll stop clipping and it'll bring it right down, and it'll only be right where it is, right there. It won't let you go above that volume, no matter how much or how loud you scream into it. Like you can see right now, ah! And I'm not clipping. I'm right here, and my audio is beautiful. You don't ever want to get up here towards the reds. If you start getting in towards the reds, it means that you're clipping on audio. And people that are wearing headphones are going to, they're not going to like, they want to hear your in-game sounds as well as your voice. The trick is to try to get your voice to be a balanced audio level just a little bit higher than your in-game audio is. That way you could talk over your game. People that you're talking to are able to be heard, and your in-game sounds are still being heard, but they're more of like a background. You know, you understand what I mean? So setting your compressor, if you're singing or you're doing any type of like hip hop or anything like that, you want to have a high ratio compression. Okay, and those are anywhere between like 7 to 15, depending on if you have a low monotone voice or if you have, you know, like a soprano voice and you're a real high pitched person. I have a pretty deep voice, so what I set mine at is 2. Okay, if you have more of a higher pitched voice than what I do, you guys might want to try 3 or 4 for the ratio. Don't ever go above 4 to 1 for a ratio, okay? 4, your output gain is going to be 1, your release time is going to be 50, the attack time is going to be 6, the threshold is negative 7.5, and this is where you adjust your ratio of compression, okay? A 2 to 1 or a 1.5 is recommended for streaming, vlogging, that kind of stuff, because you want to sound more of like a radio show host. You don't want to sound like you have a ton of production on top of you and you sound almost fake. Do you understand? Too high of a compression and you start to sound distorted. Too low of a compression and it doesn't actually boost your when you're being quiet in the game. A limiter, again, like I said, it works in conjunction with a compressor, and only thing that does is when you get really loud, and instead of clipping, it'll just cut that right there. So if you have it, you know, set at negative 7.3, which means that if I ever get up in here, this is the max volume, it'll turn it down automatically 7.3 decimals with a release time of 60 milliseconds, okay? And then this is where you're going to put gains on your microphone. As you can see this, I'm going to turn it up and my microphone is going to get louder. And then if I max this all the way out, this is where the limiter comes into play. You can see how loud my voice is right now, okay? But it's only getting to right here. It's turning down 7.3 decimals no matter what. So you want to turn this down and find you a decent gain setting to where when you are talking in it, you're getting about halfway into the yellows. You can see right here, 2.5 seems to be beautiful for me. It's a nice clean output. It's not hurting your guys' ears. I'm not overpowering anything. And if I get too loud, this is exactly how it is. And if I get real quiet, you can see that the compressor is starting to boost the lows and it's starting to get it up there. And if I get really loud, it's just right there. You understand? As to how the compressor, a limiter, and the gain works into conjunction with each other. That's why you take the low signals from Windows, a low input signal into Streamlabs, and then you boost it with these filters, okay? A noise gate, this is, think of it like this. Close is when you stop talking. Open is when you start talking. Now, when I stop talking, you'll notice that my gains right here are going to completely disappear, okay? You guys can see I'm talking into the microphone, and they're going to completely disappear now. That's the close threshold on the noise gate. And when I start talking, that's the open threshold on the noise gate. The best way that I could tell you guys to be able to actually set this right here, okay, is going to be click your fingers around your microphone or hit your space bar on your keyboard, okay? And then you want to turn your open threshold down to where it's not actually picking up the clicks on the keyboard or just barely picking up the clicks on the keyboard. So if you're not talking, it'll stop picking up the as you're smashing the buttons. It won't pick up the buttons so much. Now you have to be careful with noise gates, guys, because if you turn this down too much, it will never open and you'll be screaming into your microphone and nobody will ever hear you because it'll constantly be muted. And if you turn it down to where it's actually just barely turning on, you're going to have a distorted sound into your voice. So you have to play around with this. I have mine set anywhere. Sometimes it'll be on like 38 if I'm on like a real intensive game, and then I'll turn this one down to about 50. I usually try to keep these within like 11 or 12 points of each other, the open and close, because that seems to be where I sound the most natural when the mic is operating and I'm talking into it. As I stop talking, the gates come into effect, and as I start talking, the open starts working. Now I have the attack time set at 11, the hold time's 100, and the release time is 75. You can make the release time shorter if you wanted to and put this on like 50, and as you stop talking, it would instantly mute the mic. But then you would have a problem with when you stop talking and you trailed off, it would mute the mic before you actually probably finished your sentence. That's why I have mine set at 75. Noise suppression, this is when you're actually talking into the microphone and you have that dead air staticky sound. I have mine set at 6, okay? Anything higher than this, or about 9. If you have anything for noise suppression that's over 9, it's going to start distorting and getting into your voice, unless you have a really high-pitched voice, or somewhere that's like mine. Like let's say that this is baseline for a voice. My voice is probably right here. If your voice is anywhere up here, you could probably run like a 9 or a 10 for suppression level without it starting to affect the your vocal quality for what people hear in their own audio. All right, so address your noise suppression accordingly. Somewhere 4, 5, 6, 7. That's usually good for people. It's just enough to pull out the dead air sound that's in the back. That's all you want to do with noise suppression. Now, the link for this is a VST plugin. It's an older plugin. It's still the only one that's really around, but it is the best plugin, and it's called Reaper, okay? And Reaper comes with all of these. It's got comps in it and controls for MIDIs. It's got delays in it. It's got real EQs. It's got its own noise gates. These are all just as good as the compressors or limiters that are within Streamlabs. The only thing that I do is I use the compressor, limiter, gains, noise gates, and suppression that Streamlabs normally comes with, okay? And then I add this external VST plugin. When you download this, just go ahead and add this to Streamlabs, the VST plugin. You'll have to search for it and find it and add the file for the plugin. Once you download it to a specific place. Remember where you download it, and then go ahead and add it to your Streamlabs, Stream Elements, OBS. The only one that I use is the Real EQ, okay? And as you guys can see it is right here. This is what Real EQ looks like. And the reason being is because, again, as I said, I have a pretty deep voice, all right? And I cut off a ton of my lows. So if you have a higher pitched voice, you're gonna still wanna turn your lows down in your voice. That way, when people talk, they can hear you clearly and it's not booming bass. Because if you have big speakers on your headphones or big monitor speakers, you don't wanna sound boomy. You don't want to be booming when you're talking. You want to have your mids and your highs is more of the vocal pattern that you're trying to pick up, okay? So, excuse me. As you can see here, don't ever turn your highs for a gain. Even if you're going to boost anything in here, try to boost your mids and your highs. Don't turn them up more than like +3 or +4 for a decimal volume, okay? Anything more than that, and you're going to start hearing super duper highs, especially if you're like listening to you on like smaller earphones and that doesn't have a lot of bass. You're going to be really super duper trebly. Then you'll sound all treble and you'll hear it. You'll be hissing and popping and cracking. So like 3-4 is like the max on your highs. I try to turn my mids down or keep them like right around where they are. As you're talking into the Real EQ, you could see where the majority of your voice is. As you could see, I have a lot of lows that are in my voice, and my highs are almost non-existent. That's why I boost the highs that are in my voice so that you can hear me more clearly, and I cut the lows. That way I'm not booming and you actually hear a clean tone that's coming out of me. So you guys are going to have to address this accordingly for your own voice, depending on how you guys sound. As you're talking into the EQ, you'll see what it is that is really high that's within the frequency, and the higher that the frequency is on that is the ones that you're going to want to turn down. Everybody though should turn down the number 1. You should definitely grab this right here and turn this down. sound. Because if I flatten it out and I sound like this, you can hear how boomy and bassy I sound now. Now I'm really boomy, I'm really bassy, my voice sounds super duper deep, and this is just regular 0 setting. That's why I cut this, and then I leave it right around the 100 hertz mark. I'll cut that all the way and flatten it out right around there. That way we get this nice curve and it's a flat edge. That means that I completely cut all my lows out of the voice, okay? And then the next one is, you could see right here where my audio curve is. This is another part of a low that's in my voice. This is within the 200 hertz range, okay? Mids are around the 800 to 1200 hertz. Highs are anything that's over 2000. That's where you're gonna start picking up your highs, okay? And understanding audio levels is what we're doing right here. I'm not just gonna tell you use these settings. I'm gonna tell you what all these do and the reasons why you should do them and how to set them. So again, this is gonna be done to your voice and accordingly to your voice. I only use Reaper just for the EQ plugin, so as I'm talking live, I don't have that big boomy bassy voice, because the Yeti is a hot microphone. We have to do all these things to be able to get it to set like that, okay? Alright guys, so now after all that being said, this is the best settings that I could possibly get for the Blue Yeti microphone. This is, you know, you're taking a low input audio setting from the Yeti into your computer, taking a low window setting, and you're boosting it and adjusting the audio levels accordingly. You're setting your limiters, you're setting your compressor, you're adjusting the EQ within your voice so that you sound more like you to somebody else. You could hear your own self, you know what you sound like. You can hear yourself play back, and just play with the EQs back and forth until you find something that you're happy with. You could even add a little bit of echo on there and get fancy and, you know, figure out how to keybind that echo and, you know, push like 7 on your number pad and it'll turn echo on. You can start singing like, it'll add a bunch of echo to you, and then hit 7 again, it'll turn it off, or 8, hit the 8 key and it'll disable the echo and you'll just go back to sounding like this, okay? So again, this is my settings. This is the best thing that I could come up with. This is how I always sound, and I hope that this helps some of you guys. I'm still rocking a Yeti on 2020. Hopefully, if we get a little bigger and we get some more money in our pockets eventually in life, I'll buy a nice XLR setup and I'll get like a nice Shure like SM58 or something like that, right? And yeah, that's my goal. So anyways, I hope this helps some of you guys. If you haven't already, like, follow, subscribe. I'm Lockouts. Peace.
Take your mouse and click the button, won't you subscribe to me? Lockouts, providing the content that you see. I'm visually stimulating your mind, 1 minute at a time.